Welcome to another episode of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, your home for the latest news and analysis from the world of college hoops. Back again are your hosts, Josh Burton, Phil Dexter, and Peyton Burton.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 136. As always, this podcast is presented by House Enterprise and in part with the House of College Hoops. Head over to our site, house-enterprise.com for more info. And ladies and gentlemen, the band's back together. The Four Horsemen's back. We got myself, the host, Peyton Burton. We got Josh Burton. We got Corey Dexter. And he is back, ladies and gentlemen. Phil Dexter. What's going on, everybody?
You said Corey Dexter. Corey? I didn't know you
apparently
were
Corey's my brother now.
Hey, listen, man. I'm sorry.
No,
leave it to Peyton and you still can't get anything right.
Shut up. Don't talk to me about getting right, Mr. I picked Kansas to lose. Kiss my ass.
He's a Louisville fan. Can we expect anything less?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's coming from the guy wearing Louisville over there.
And he's got 77 teams. Or Peyton, it might be up to 78 right now, right?
It's about to be 79 if y'all keep talking shit. Whoever Illinois plays in it this week, I'm going to pick against them.
Every time they add another team to D1, Peyton gets to add another favorite team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to keep on going up every week.
Peyton's going to root for, I don't know if they're D3 or D2, but I know this upcoming week or weekend that Chicago State plays some St. Xavier team. I think they're like a D2 or D3, so Peyton can root for St. Xavier.
St. Xavier is an NAIA team.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Y'all leave me the hell alone, okay? Listen,
Hey, how about me rocking pitchers and catchers report here in the next week? How about, I mean, I'm going to get my heart broken like my other teams, but go Reds. Barry Larkin, batting jersey.
They'll be in the same place as Milan.
Oh.
And Kentucky. Hey, we'll get into all that. But Peyton, this is your show. Take over.
Yeah, well, quick. You know, I got my Louisville gear on. Josh, you got your Reds gear on. Corey, as always, has his IU gear on. Phil, what the hell are you wearing?
I mean, I have like a trippy mushroom shirt on.
Aren't you a Boston Celtics fan?
Yeah, I don't ever wear Celtics. I hate the color green, even though I'm a Celtics fan and a Packer fan, oddly enough. So you will probably not ever see me in any Packer or Celtics stuff.
It makes sense, though. He's wearing the trippy mushrooms in support of our guy Aaron Rodgers going on his 4-day hideout.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Hell yeah. The 4-day silence quest or darkness quest or whatever the fuck it is.
In pitch black. Dude, I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
I think that's the point, is like to lose your mind and you start like hallucinating and shit, and then I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is a fucking weirdo.
What he's doing, I know this is kind of starting off the rails, which is fine because it's what we do and it's entertaining, but I think what he's doing is going in 4 days of darkness to prepare himself to go to the New York Jets is what he's doing.
Probably. It's probably exactly what he's doing. I tell you what, I'd rather do that than watch this year's Louisville team lose every fucking game every damn week. So I'd rather do that. But anyways, let's keep
Corey.
Keep one. Yeah, let's go on.
Put it on the board.
Yeah, we need an F-word counter for Peyton. We're trying to limit him here.
That's only one. Listen, last week I only had I think two. A whole hour. Yeah. So we're getting a little bit better. Who cares?
We're 3 minutes into the show.
3 minutes in and he's already halfway there.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the episode. See you guys next week. Moving on, we got some interesting stuff. Later on in the show, we're going to do our first conference draft. Start with the best conference in college basketball this year, Big 12 Conference. We're going to do a little bit of draft. That'll be later on in the show. But first, let's get into talking to some about these games that's happened this week. And so far, the biggest game of the week, once again, I feel like it's every damn week. It involves my Kansas Jayhawks because it's not an easy road in the Big 12. They go into Monday night in Allen Fieldhouse and take down the Longhorns of Texas 88-80. And Corey, I'm going to bring it to you because you picked Texas to win this game, and I don't know why you did, but you did, and you ended up being wrong like usual, Josh. He's always wrong on shit like this. But I'm going to put it to you guys like this. Corey, if I told you in this game that Jalen Wilson had 2 points and Kansas won by 8, what would you tell me right now?
I would tell you it was a 46-43 game like Tennessee-Auburn because nobody else has been supporting Jalen Wilson. But no, I mean, Kansas finally got the support they needed from other people stepping up, and Jalen Wilson shown that he is human also. But no, it's just I never would have guessed by my wildest imagine that Kansas still wins this game.
Yeah, Jalen Wilson had 2 points. He's been averaging like 25 in the last like 5 games, I believe. He's been going insane. He came in very cold.
Hey,
Texas, what's up?
Hold on. I just want to say one thing. I'm not the only one that's wrong because Josh over here has said numerous times that no matter what, Jalen Wilson will always account for his 25 to 35. And no matter what, will always score. So let's just go off and say, like, not everybody's always right.
Well, and you're very correct on that. But I do think, though, on the law of averages, I am right. He's just about every night that he's shown between 25 and 35 points is what he's going to give. And as far as the Kansas win, like, this is the most – I would be willing to say this is the most impressive Kansas win all season. And I know it's at home, but taking the fact that they've been struggling, I know they had to get right with Kentucky, Kansas State, but they've been losing more than you would expect, I guess. And they absolutely needed this to stay in the thick of the Big 12 race, Phil. With the win now, the race tightens up because we talked about it on Sunday that should they lose this game and Texas has a 2-game advantage over them, that I don't know if Kansas could rally with so few games left to come back and win the conference or at least a share of it. But now with the win, Texas is still in the lead, but they're 8-3, and then you have Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, and Kansas State all at 7-4. One game separates the top 5 in this conference. Phil, to me, this is probably the most impressive Kansas win because they A, needed it, and B, as Peyton mentioned, Jalen Wilson only scored 2 points, and they got role players desperately that they needed to step up. They stepped up in this game.
Well, and not only that, but then you overcome a big Marcus Carr performance. He goes for 29. Timmy Allen has a good game. Sir'Jabari Rice is knocking down shots like he's always doing. So, Texas was kind of hitting, I don't want to say on all cylinders, but pretty close to hitting on all cylinders, and Kansas was still able to overcome it with a not great performance out of Jalen Wilson. So I think that's actually what makes it even more impressive. I still like Kansas to edge ahead of Texas for the conference title. I just think Kansas overall has been more consistent throughout the year, but it's going to be a great race down the stretch.
Not only that, I mean, you mentioned Marcus Carr. He had 22 points in the second half. First half, he did not really play his best. He was too pass-heavy, I would say, instead of being the guy he's been all year with going and getting buckets. He didn't do that in the first half, and I think that's why Kansas got up to like a 12-point lead at one point, 14-point lead. He was up 30-16 at one point. That's because he was just looking to pass too much. He wasn't aggressive offensively, and second half, that changed. Like, the gears flipped, and he started going and getting buckets, and he willed this team back in. What hurt Texas in the first half is they had 10 turnovers in the first half. Kansas was forcing a lot of turnovers, and that allowed Kansas to get out and run and get some points off of those turnovers. We had 18 points off turnovers. But the biggest thing for Kansas, I mean, Phil, I don't know if you listened to Sunday's episode, but I brought out a stat about DeJuan Harris and how important he is offensively for this team. In DeJuan Harris's career at Kansas, since he came to Kansas is now 18-0 when DeJuan Harris scores 10 or more points. And he had 17 in this game. So DeJuan Harris was aggressive, got some buckets, and I think the bench play was incredible. Jordan Yesufu came off, had 14 points.
Well,
Ernest Uday had 6 points. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. You mentioned Yesufu. I was actually going to bring that up to you guys. We've talked about it, me, you, and Phil especially, over the last basically 2 years now since he transferred in, that this is a guy that came in from Drake as a scorer, and he's not really done that at Kansas. And up until here lately, the last week has been big for him because his minutes are getting more, his involvement's getting more. You look at Kansas State last week, 5 points, nothing to write home about, but he got on the score sheet after going scoreless for the last 4 prior to that. Then he has 8 points in the loss to Iowa State over the weekend, 14 against Texas. He hadn't scored 14 points since he went back-to-back earlier in the year against Tennessee and Texas Southern. This is a guy, fellas, that if he can get going and play with confidence, this is a game changer for Kansas off the bench because it gives them an experienced scorer/shooter that they can help alleviate some of the pressure off of Jalen Wilson. I think if Yesufu continues to get 9 to 14, 15 points a game, this really helps changes Kansas's whole identity, in my opinion.
And Corey, you mentioned it Sunday about Grady Dick and how he hasn't been performing, like shooting the ball well in the last couple of games. Well, he came out and responded to that because he had 21 points, 7-11 from the field. He's the only guy who hit any sort of three-pointers for our team. We was 2 of 10. He was 2 of 3 from the three-point line. And he just looked like the guy that we saw about a month ago when he was just lighting teams up. And Grady Dick, I mean, I think he heard what you said Sunday because he responded to your challenge to him, and he came out and balled out in this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was the biggest thing that, we had mentioned was Grady Dick was just continuing to score under his season average and continued to struggle. And Kansas just didn't have anybody else step up. Grady Dick finally has the game that we needed out of him. He goes off for 21. And what's amazing is Kansas puts up 88 points on 2 of 10 shooting, like you said. I mean, Grady Dick is 2 for 3, and nobody else even, hit a 3, was 0 for 7 from the floor. So, just with that, Kansas was able to withhold the, tight run from Texas towards the end and was able to pick up a huge win that's, tremendous.
And before we move on to another game, I just want to talk about something real quick. Talk about Texas. Let's talk about Rodney Terry because Matt Painter, in my opinion, is the front runner to win National Coach of the Year. There's other guys like Jerome Tang and TJ Altenberger from Iowa State who deserve to be in the running for that. But to me, Matt Painter is number one. However, Rodney Terry, I don't think there's a better coach who's done a better coaching job in the country than what Rodney Terry is doing right now with Texas. If it weren't for the first half turnovers, Texas very well could have won this game and still been up 2 games on the rest of the Big 12 Conference. Give the man the job. It's time. Give the man the job. What else he has to do? He's up 1 game in the toughest conference in college basketball. What he's had to overcome from this whole Chris Beard situation to keep the team running, an experienced team like that, to keep the team to buy into what he's believing and what he's trying to do for this Texas squad, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. What does he have to do? Does he have to does he have to win the Big 12? Does he have to win the Big 12 tournament? What else does he have to do for him to get the job? Give the man the job, and that's my opinion on that. Thoughts on that?
I'm glad you said something about that because I think, just about any other job in the country, Rodney Terry would have been promoted by now.
100%.
But unfortunately with, the rich donors at Texas that you have to impress and all that good stuff, like you asked what he has to do, he's going to have to win the Big 12. He's probably going to have to make at least an Elite 8 run. Otherwise, these alums are going to want to bring in a big, splash name.
Here's my response to that on him having to win the Big 12. You know when the last time Texas has won the Big 12, or at least won a share of the Big 12? 2008. That was when Rick Barnes were there. And they ran Rick Barnes off to Tennessee. They ran Shaka Smart out of Texas to go to Marquette, and look what he's doing now. I mean, why are we comparing him to a history of coaches that have no history of really winning anything at Texas? They don't have no history of winning national titles. They don't have history of going to Final Fours. Since when did Texas... Okay, one, that's fine. But when did Texas become this blue blood to where making the NCAA tournament isn't good enough?
Well, here's why. It's not that they're a blue blood per se. It's because, like Phil mentioned, they've got huge donors. They're one of the richest schools athletic-wise in college basketball, and they're about to make the transition.
I think they are the richest.
Yeah, and they're about to make the transition to the SEC, which is the richest conference in all of collegiate athletics. So it's not necessarily that you have blue blood standards. It is you want to be in the right position going to the SEC to hit the ground running. But I'm with you. I think Rodney Terry needs a hard look because it's not very often, guys, that we see an interim coach take over a program like Texas that was really good before he officially took over and continue the ball rolling. He's done a tremendous job, and I would at the very least, he would have to get very strong consideration for me if I was the athletic director, Conte.
Yeah. But go ahead, Phil.
I was just going to say, we've talked about how big of an advantage the Moody Center has been this year, and that's one of the other reasons that these donors and alum want another, big name coach is they just spent $400 million to build a brand new state-of-the-art basketball arena. So I think Rodney Terry deserves the job. I'm just not sure that they're going to settle for anything less than, a huge splash of a hire.
Here's what I would do. I'd give him the job. I'd make the buyout really low, so that way if you start to not having really good years. If you start missing the tournament, then guess what? You don't have to worry about it. You can cut them in a couple years, and the buyout's really low. That way you can buy them out because you're Texas, and you mentioned the richest school in college basketball, or just in college sports in general. But I don't know. I think the man deserves a job. Corey, what do you think?
No, 100%. You know, you and I talked about it previous to the show, and it's like, you know, Texas wants to have this, you know, big name hire, but really, they've turned over so many coaches here recently, and they just don't have the rich history to really bring in somebody. And on top of that, in my opinion, there's not anybody that's going to just absolutely want to come to Texas just because they are so short tempered. I mean, you look at football, you look at baseball, you look at basketball. I mean, you kind of talk about the three big men sports, and it's like they just haven't lived up to what Texas athletics used to be, and they continue to try and act like they are. And I mean, you know, they compete, but it's like they just don't win when it comes down to the time. And I just don't think that, you know, they're going to get the big name hire that they think they should. And unfortunately for them, I just don't see them as being the enticing job that they want to be.
I like the idea that you mentioned of potentially a smaller contract with a smaller buyout. So that way, if like maybe this year was a fluke and next year it's like kind of gotten bad, then you can part ways then, but at least give him the opportunity.
Just give him the chance. I mean, no one else in the country is going to be able to do what he's done so far with really taking over this team after so much drama in the program. But that's just my opinion. I'm on the fan club of Rodney Terry. Give the man a chance and let's see what he does. Anyhow, Corey, let's stick with you. Your boys, Indiana, knocked off Rutgers on Tuesday, 66-60. In a similar hall, this game was very close. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, no, Indiana came out and lit it up from the floor again for back-to-back games in the first half. Came out and started to put it on a very good Rutgers team again. You know, Rutgers clawed back. They hit the three ball extremely well, closed it down towards the half. I think they were, 6 of 11 for 3-point from the first half. It was really good run to end it. Indiana Canada came out, continued to put the pressure on. Assembly Hall was rocking again. TJD had a huge game. Had 20? What was it? 21 and 18.
20 and 18.
20 and 18. So I mean, had a huge game out of him. Trey Galloway stepped up in a few places. Kind of shown a little bit of a bad side of Jalen Hood-Schifino, again, of a bad shooting night. I think he was 2 of 7 from the floor, but overall, you know, just a huge game out of, you know, Indiana again to knock off Rutgers on the road. I mean, especially after the taking the loss up there and the up at Rutgers, and then having them come into Assembly Hall to take a nice win. So it was huge.
Talking about Jalen Hood-Schifino, how about that one play he did in transition? A little behind the back, a little reverse, threw it up to the moon and back, and came down to nothing but net. How about that play? That play was ridiculous. But, Josh, I mean, TJD had one of those nights again. 20 points, 18 boards, 6 assists. Millicop, 18 points as well. IU played well enough to win this game, and I figured it'd be some sort of a trap game coming off of that big win against Purdue, but they held home court and able to get the job done.
You know what the most impressive thing was is they jumped Rutgers early and they had them down by 14, the 30-16, and Rutgers fought and clawed their way back in. You had the Swedish kid, Palmquist, hitting 3 threes in the first half for 9 points. That's what he ended the game with. But they fought back, and Indiana did not wilt like they would have in previous years. They kept their composure and was able to stay out in front the rest of the way and secure a big-time win, which, by the way, puts them in sole possession of second place in the Big Ten. This Indiana team, with the confidence they're playing in, they have, not only is an All-American, but he is closing the gap. He's not going to catch Edey. We've mentioned this, but he is doing his damnedest to close the gap on the National Player of the Year race. TJD is phenomenal. You mentioned Hood-Schifino, not his greatest game outside the one highlight, but man, Miller-Kopp was great. 18 points, 4 of 6 from the three-point line, and he continued to play hard, being an on-the-floor leader. With one possession, he turned the ball over, sprinted back tipped it from whoever it was from Rutgers to force a turnover for Indiana to go the other way to get a transition bucket. Indiana is playing with an unreal amount of confidence right now. They've moved up in most bracketology to a 4 line now. Indiana continues to play this way. They're going to get Xavier Johnson back before the end of the year. As long as he integrates and doesn't break up this chemistry they have, don't want to go too crazy, Phil, but Indiana has the makings of a team that not only can make the second weekend, but could make a Final Four with the way that they are playing right now.
Yeah, they're getting hot at the right time of the year, and I think that's, we talk about that a lot, that you can have a great first 2 months of the season, but if you cool off at the end of the year, it doesn't matter. All we give teams credit for is, NCAA tournament success, and you see that with a team we're going to talk about in a second. North Carolina had so much tournament success last year, high expectations this year, but if they're able to get Xavier Johnson back and get him assimilated into the lineup as well, working with all this, I think that Indiana, could very easily make Final Four.
I gotta wait and see where they are at when Xavier Johnson comes back and how he see if he's a good Xavier again like he was before he got injured. But I agree with you, Josh. I think if Xavier comes back, if he's any sort of what he was before he got injured, I think IU has the making of making a Final Four this year because it's the way they defend. They hit some shots, and they got a Player of the Year candidate in TJD. Hats off to Indiana. Got the revenge game against Rutgers. Phil, you just mentioned it. Listen, man, it's been a while since we've heard you talk shit about North Carolina. Well, I want to hear it now. I want you to go in because Wake Forest, 92-85, Wake Forest comes up with a victory. Dude, Caleb Love shot 25 shots. The second amount of shots shot on the team was RJ Davis at 12. He shot 13 more shots than anyone on the team. What the hell?
I mean, they were down 22 at the half, so they made a little bit of a comeback in the second half, and you got to give Caleb Love some of the credit for that. But at that point, they were just sort of letting him jack up whatever he wanted to. But I don't even really want to talk about Carolina. I want to give credit to Wake Forest here. Tyree Appleby goes for 35. 23 for 28 from the line, just attacking the basket at will. Carolina is normally the team that gets the benefit of the whistle, and they say they just, they play physical, attacking style of basketball, and that's exactly what Wake Forest did to them. Wake Forest is a bubble team right now. They need every win they can get. I mean, honestly, they might need to go 6-1, 7-0 down the stretch here to even have a chance. They're going to have a very similar resume to what they had last year. But back to Carolina, I guess, they might be out of the tournament right now. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but they don't look like a tournament team. Then you have the alleged drama between, RJ Davis wild. And Caleb Love, which would explain them not getting along the best. But you mentioned how poorly Caleb Love shot. RJ Davis didn't shoot the ball well in this game. 4 for 12, 0 for 4 from 3. Pete Nance 0 for 2 from 3. Baycott shoots less than 50%, even though he has a double-double. In foul trouble again, fouls out. Just there's no consistency. And you heard after the game, Baycott supposedly called his teammates out and said, anybody that doesn't want to be here can fucking quit. And that's probably what they need to hear, but I'm just not sure that they have the talent to turn it around. Like I said, they were so highly rated based off of a hot run from last year. This isn't a team that brought in a top recruit. It's not a team that turned over a bunch. I mean, they're basically the exact same team that struggled last year.
And real quick, Peyton, I'm sorry. I'm glad you brought up the Baycott quote because I was going to if you didn't. I mean, that's great leadership on his behalf, but it's not going to matter if it goes in one end or out the other because let's say, and we're not picking on Caleb Love, but man, it's just like I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there. It's like he's out there playing for himself, not for the team. So he could say like, oh yeah, I want to be here, but continue doing the same stuff. Something is, like you mentioned, not right with North Carolina. They obviously don't get stops when they need to, giving up 92 points to Wake Forest. They're chaotic at best on offense. It really relies on Carolina wins games if they have one of their guys get red hot, like a Love or Davis or Baycott. But if they don't have somebody go absolutely insane like they did in the tournament last year, they ain't winning. And you mentioned about the tournament resume. I know we're going to talk real briefly about Kentucky here in a minute, but it's looking more and more like we might get the best Dayton first-round show of all time between North Carolina and Kentucky in a play-in game.
Yeah, that would be absolutely nuts if we get that. But the thing is about Carolina, look at the schedule. They got some quad one wins left on their schedule. I mean, they got February 13th. They play home against Miami. They go at NC State on the 19th. They still got Virginia at home. They got that rematch with Duke at the end of the season. So that's at least four quad one wins right there. As far as Wake Forest, I mean, they got a couple left. They got at Miami February 18th and then at NC State on February 22nd. and the other things. And they got like Boston College and everything. They got a very winnable schedule to end the season. They got 6 games left. I think Wake Forest can sneak in the tournament. But
hey,
North Carolina.
Real quick, Peyton. I'm sorry. I did want to bring up that the newest on KenPom, you know how they do the conference rankings, the ACC's 7th now.
Jesus.
They're behind the Mountain West and the Pac-12. They are 7th. And that doesn't bode well for a Carolina or some of these other ACC bubble teams because the conference is not very good this year.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, because, Peyton meant Carolina does have some big games on their schedule, but can we trust them to even go 2-2 in those games? I mean, if they don't go 3-1 in those games, even they're sweating it out on Selection Sunday.
And if they hypothetically miss their tournament, what's your opinion on Hubert Davis and his job security in North Carolina? Because let's face it, they've had one great month since he's been there. One great month. So if he doesn't make the tournament, here's the thing: if they're any, just like Kentucky, we'll get to them later. And like I said Sunday, if North Carolina, Kentucky, if they're anywhere close to the bubble, they're most likely going to get in just because of the name value. So either they're all the way in or they're all the way out. But if they lose majority of their games, which they definitely can do, and they miss the tournament, what's you guys' opinion on Hubert Davis and his job security at North Carolina?
I'll say this real quick. I think that he's obviously on the hot seat next year. If they miss the tournament this year, or if they do make tournament and flame out in the play-in or first round, he is absolutely under the microscope next year. Like, he has to, kind of like Jeff Capel and Brad Burnell and a lot of guys we've talked about this year who's had bounce backs. If they screw this up this year, he's under the microscope all next year with firing in his purview.
Well, Peyton, you mentioned that they've only really had one great month, since he's been the coach, but let's go back to that Baylor game in the tournament last year. If they lose that game, coupled with what they're doing right now this year, he might be on the hot seat right now. I mean, so it wasn't even about that month. I mean, that game really changed the kind of feeling around his tenure so far. But I agree with Josh, going into next year, unless they make another magical tournament run, and even then I think people are going to be looking at him with some skepticism, he's going to be on pins and needles next year in sort of a Matt Doherty type situation where it's like, yeah, you're a member of the Carolina family, but we can't let this thing get too far away from us. If you're a program that has 3 or 4 bad years, you're irrelevant. You're Georgetown.
Yeah, that's something you never want to be compared to is Georgetown. Corey, what's your thoughts on all of this about North Carolina and Hubert Davis?
Looks like Corey might have stepped away.
Well, anyways, before we move on, I do want to say something real quick about North Carolina next year. They do got a great recruiting class coming in, but let's face it, they're probably going to be, unless they get some guys in the transfer portal, they're going to be young next year, and it's going to be a complete different type of landscape than what they were this year. This year, the experience for most of those players are going to be gone, and now they're going to have to rely on a lot of their young players, like the team I'm getting mentioned right now that we're going to move on and talk about. Staying in Tobacco Road, Duke got the shit kicked out of them by Miami, 81-59. Jordan Miller had 16 points. Nochad O'Meal had 17 points. Isaiah Wong had 11. Phil, you've watched Duke a lot this season. I'm sure you was able to catch this game, or at least catch some highlights of it. Duke was down 40-16 at halftime. They was down 13-3 with the start of the game. What's your opinion on this Duke team? Because, man, they can win at home and Cameron Indoor, but when they take the show on the road, it seems they struggle a lot.
Yeah, me and you talked about it before the show that, they've just been like a Jekyll and Hyde team away from home. I think they're undefeated at home and then like 2-7 on the road, something along those lines. And then, Miami specifically has been kind of a house of horrors for Duke the past couple of years. So you couple that into it. I didn't expect this performance to be this bad, but we also didn't mention the fact, it's 2 days after the most emotional game they'll play all year long, going on the road. So I didn't like that scheduling, but I also don't think that's an excuse to not show up and get beat by 21 points. Derek Lively, to me, was kind of the only bright spot for Duke. You're really starting to see the potential there. He goes 5 for 6, has 11 points, 6 boards. I think he had like 6 blocks, 5 blocks, somewhere in that range. So you're starting to see that, but they need Whitehead back. They need every offensive option they can get. You mentioned it before the year, Peyton, and obviously have turned out to be right. I thought by this point they would have either Roach or Whitehead or somebody have emerged as that dominant ball handler. and they just haven't.
To be fair, to play devil's advocate here, to defend Duke a little bit, I mean, when everyone's healthy, they've only really played 12 games when everyone's healthy. They've had a lot of injury problems, not staying healthy. So to play devil's advocate for them, they've had only like 12 games together when everyone's healthy. But Josh, talking about the scheduling, have to play 2 days after against them, going at Miami after an emotional win against North Carolina. Do you think that should have happened if Coach K was on the sidelines?
No, I mean, the easy answer would be no, because he would know how to navigate it. Here's the problem is, I mean, they're starting 4 freshmen, right? Even without Whitehead, they're starting 4 guys. Filipowski, Lively, Mark Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor. But they always say by this point of the year, they're no longer freshmen in terms of games, and should be at least. I'm looking at some of the experienced guys, and I mentioned it, and I actually gave Phil a lot of credit last Sunday when we talked about their win against North Carolina. Jeremy Roach is the key to all this. Phil talked about it for the early part of the year and made me a believer of it, and it's evident. Jeremy Roach, 10 points in this game, 4 assists, 5 turnovers. He has to be good. You go back to Carolina, he had 17 in the first half. Like, he has to be good to make up for some of the lapses in judgment that these freshmen are going to make. And then the other guy, another experienced guy that I've been very hard on all year that I expect so much more out of, is Jacob Grandison. 2 points. The dude is a knockdown shooter. He went 0 for 3 from the field, including 0 for 2 from the three-point line. He is a dead-eye shooter coming over from Illinois. He has to be more involved. And I'm just not seeing it from him. And unless they get the freshmen to grow up in a hurry, the final 4 weeks of the season here, or a guy like Grandison to step up, Duke's another one of these teams that they'll probably get in the tournament, and they've got enough talent, they could make a run. We see it, but they're also not consistent enough that they can get beat. But hey, I do want to give real quick some love to Miami. I mean, this team is phenomenal. Great backcourt, Nigel Pack, Isaiah Wong, Wooga Poplar. This team is explosive, electric, 19-5 on the year, 10-4, only a half game out of the ACC lead. Great job at Jim Larinaga and the building of this team, NIL or not. This team is for real, and another team that can make a deep run in March.
Yeah,
real quick on Miami before we move on. Is there a more physical player in America than Norchad Omier?
No,
and he's an absolute monster.
And he's only 6'7".
He's like 6'7", but like 250 pure muscle. Yeah. And he just throws dudes around.
Well, and it stands out more in this conference because it's not the Big 10 or Big 12 where it's known for physicality. This is more of like a flashy conference, and he's just like a man amongst boys. That's a great point.
And Coy, moving again, before we move on here, I mean, going back to Duke, it's never a good idea when your starting backcourt has 5 turnovers apiece. Jeremy Roach had 5 turnovers, and Tyrese Proctor had 5 turnovers as well. That's a never good sign if you want to go on the road and beat a Miami team.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you instantly turn the ball over, have empty possessions, and it's easy for teams to start gaining momentum quickly. I mean, the fact that they had 10 turnovers, combined, it's like, it just sets you up for a recipe for disaster. Miami capitalized on it. I think they had 24 points off of those 10 turnovers alone. I think it was 23. So yeah. So it's like so it's like right there, just this 23 empty point swing, just to instantly kind of swing the momentum over to the other side and just set yourself up for failure of opportunities not to score the basketball. Hey,
real quick, I know we got to move on. The midweek shows, the shorter show, so we'll move on. But I do want to pose like we did with North Carolina. Look at Duke's remaining schedule: Virginia, Notre Dame, Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, North Carolina. Some very winnable games there in the middle part of that with Notre Dame, Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech. But 3 pretty tough games remaining. They've already got 7 losses. What's the odds that Duke doesn't make the tournament here down the stretch?
0.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance. I think unless they totally shit the bed here down the stretch, they have a few decent quality wins. The Xavier win helps them out a little bit. I don't think they're quite looking at the bubble, but I mean, obviously, if they were to go 1-6 in those games, it's possible.
Yeah,
I guarantee they win Louisville.
I guarantee you that. They probably win it by 30 on that one. No matter where that game's played at. But yeah, I agree with Phil. I agree with Phil and Corey. I think they're comfortably in, unless they just shit the bed where they lose the majority of the games. I don't see a way that Duke does not get in the tournament. But hats off to Miami. I mean, Miami has a great team that money can buy. So hats off to them. Let's move on to the next game. Josh, we're going to you. Kentucky, Rupp Arena. You're taking L, 88-73 to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Man, what's going on with Oscar Tshiebwe, man?
Well, he's been exposed. We've mentioned it all year. The teams are just putting him in a pick and roll blender, and he still can't defend it. And so the problem here is that I'm hearing from, if you listen to KSR radio show every day and different reports, is that it sounds like there's honestly friction between the teammates and him, that he's living off campus. Everybody else is living in the Wildcat Lodge. He barely comes around. Then he makes comments at the post-game pressers, especially after losses, like, if you don't want to fight, you don't want to, you shouldn't play and all this other stuff. Something about him winning all those awards last year and getting all this NIL money, something has been a disconnect with him, the coaching staff, and I heard even John Calipari. There's something going on with Oscar, and his performances are obviously showing that he is struggling. And you go to this game, one of the most fun first halves I've watched all year. This game was back and forth, electric, two very athletic teams going at each other. Arkansas is finally figuring it out on a hot streak. Kentucky was right there with them. And then the second half, Kentucky opened second half up with giving up was 6 straight points to Arkansas, and then never got back into the game. Credit to Arkansas. Anthony Black is such a menace defensively with his length and athleticism and reach. And, of course, Arkansas hit some shots they probably won't hit. But Kentucky on their end, Arkansas does not shoot the 3-ball well. So what do? You go over the screens to guide them to the rim. Arkansas shot 28 of 42 from the field. 90% of those were at the rim for dunks and layups. Like, that's unacceptable. They got ran out the building in the second half, and it's completely unacceptable. And here's my hot take, and I've said this, and I mean this. When Kentucky goes to Georgia on Saturday, Cal won't do it because he's already after the post game making comments like, well, we didn't play Damian a lot in the second half because this is more important that Oscar gets going for the remainder of the year. That's bullshit. That is a bullshit ridiculous line. That is terrible coaching from a Hall of Famer. And Damian Collins, his play the last couple games, Florida, Arkansas, that kid deserves a start because he gives you something different Oscar doesn't. He protects the rim, he's athletic, and he's a little better offensive threat. If you care about winning, and this, make no mistake, Saturday is a must-win to keep your season alive, I'd start Damian Collins, and I make Oscar come off the bench, and I don't even think there's a question about it. National Player of the Year be damned. Damian Collins gives Kentucky the best opportunity to win going forward, and Oscar just has not been good this year.
Well, he hasn't been good this year because defensively he's just a liability. I mean, you mentioned it, but anytime you get him on a ball screen action, he's always playing drop coverage. He doesn't do the right angles. He keeps on getting caught. I mean, he doesn't drop enough to where you can, if someone throws it up, he can go block it. He doesn't come up enough to where you can just stop a dribble drive. I mean, if you're going to play drop coverage, you either A, need to have a Zach Edey type to where he covers so much ground to where if you go for a float or a jump shot, he can alter the shot, or if you try to throw an oop, he can alter that as well. Or you need a guy like Damian Collins or a guy like KJ Adams who's just super athletic, who can go and play drop coverage, and he can get away with maybe dropping off a little bit too more. I mean, he's a defensive liability, and I agree, you need to set Oscar. But guys, I mean, Phil, the big discrepancy in the second half was, I think, Arkansas had 16 points on turnovers. They got Kentucky to turn the ball over way too much in the second half. And a guy like Cason Wallace had 4 of those turnovers in the second half.
But Cason played well, though.
Cason played well, but the biggest adjustment I seen watching the second half is anytime he gets to the half court, Musselman would send a double team after him and speed his ass up, and that's when a lot of his turnovers came. But hats off to Arkansas, man. They deserved the win, and they went and got it done, 88-73.
Phil, I'm going to hear their thoughts real quick. Your guys' thoughts, because I think Arkansas is putting it together now. They've won 6 of their last 8, and they're about to get Nick Smith back. This Arkansas team's for real again.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Josh. When they shoot the ball well, which they typically don't from 3, and they didn't have a ton of attempts in this one, but still go 4 for 9. They're tougher to beat. Anthony Black was able to get his scoring going, which is typically, sort of one of the things that determines whether they're going to be good. If they get Nick Smith back, I think they can be similar to, the team that we thought they were going to be before the year. I still think that missing Trayvon Brazile is a huge loss for them, obviously out for the year. But your thoughts on Kentucky, I think, are spot on. I just think that, you guys mentioned Oscar being a liability on defense. He's kind of a liability on offense, too, just because he has no offensive versatility. You know exactly what he's going to do every time offensively. And I think Dameon Collins would be just give them a little bit more of an athletic rim runner on offense. But CJ Frederick's banged up. He's not shooting the ball well. I think he has like a broken finger or something right now.
And busted ribs now. And busted ribs.
I didn't even know about the ribs. But yeah, you can clearly see the finger with his shot, 0 for 4, 0 for 2 from 3. I don't know what they can really do to fix it with this roster other than, like you mentioned, just try to make a huge change like benching Oscar and hope that sparks the rest of the team a little bit. But you said Oscar coming off the bench. I think it might be better to just bench him altogether for a couple games. Say he has a sore foot or a sore ankle or whatever it is, protect him and just let him know, like, hey, you're not bigger than this team. And maybe that brings him down back to, the guy he was last year. But I think that's their only hope because it's not like they have anybody coming back from injury really, or, some freshman like last year. We all hoped that you would see Sharp, Shaden Sharp was supposed to be maybe the savior. They don't have anybody like that this year.
And real quick to finish this point out, Cal has got to stop getting in his own way because they played zone 3 possessions against Arkansas. And yeah, they gave up offensive rebounds and he went nuts. But damn it, do something different and change this up. If you can't stop them going to the rim, then play zone and commit to it. Let them make mistakes, but play their way out of it. And in an athletic game like this, play a guy like a Dude Thiero. He's going to make mistakes as a freshman, but we've seen him this year. He continues to grow. He plays hard 100% of the time. And this is a game that fits him in an athletic type of setting. Just Cal's screwing it up, getting in his own way. Oscar's hurting him. No Xavier with an extra point guard. This is going bad terribly right now. And I don't know what the answer is, but they better figure it out. And also, like I mentioned, credit to Arkansas because once they get Nick Smith back and he doesn't screw them up, whoa, buddy, Arkansas is going to be a dangerous 8-9 seed. Dangerous.
Coy, I think it's safe to say that the best team in the state of Kentucky is probably Bellarmine right now.
I would have to agree with you there. I mean, it's just like, and we kind of talked on it before. It's like, the points of Kentucky starting to creep around the corner, and all of a sudden it's like they're falling leaps and bounds backwards. And, and I also kind of want to point out, we had a discussion, I think it was last year, about how good, Oscar was at that point. But it was like, look at what Oscar did his first year at West Virginia and then into the second year. And what so many people talked about of what kind of dictates and what happens. And, he's kind of following that same exact path with Kentucky now as well. Is, came out, had a tremendous year, and then all of a sudden now he's kind of following in that same footsteps. And it's like, a lot of West Virginia fans kind of made that comment and said, hey, be on the lookout for this. And all of a sudden now Oscar's kind of doing that thing. But no, for Arkansas, they're starting to put it together. I mean, you think of it, it takes a little bit for a major injury and some major, changeover. After losing, a couple key components of what they thought they would have. And, they're starting to put it together. You kind of look at, it takes time to build around and find out who their identity is. And they're starting to finally get it. So they're starting to finally roll.
Sticking in the SEC, Vanderbilt hits a game win against Tennessee. Down goes Rocky Top. Phil, talk to us about what the hell happened on those final couple possessions there.
What a game, man!
Gosh, it was a hell of a game. It was as Josh just mentioned, it was like literally a back and forth game the entire time. But yeah, the end of the game. So Vanderbilt is like 4 fouls away from being in the penalty. Needs to get Tennessee to the free throw line so they can get the ball back. Julian Phillips has a easy breakaway dunk and passes it up. And gets fouled. He doesn't end up going to the line there. They still have to foul a couple more times, but ultimately Santiago Vescovi ends up at the line for a 1-and-1, misses the front half of that, and Yeah, they lose on a 3-point buzzer beater. Just a complete mishandling of the end of the game by Tennessee.
What a play design by Jerry Stackhouse, too. And the balls to make that pass with 4 seconds to go. You have a wide open layup to tie it to send overtime, and you have the wherewithal to look for your guy in the hammer action in the corner with that little time. Like, dude, that took some balls. And to hit the shot, Tyron Lawrence, what a great game. And that is what now? Tennessee since 2000 as being a top 10 team is 1-5 against Vandy in Nashville.
Jesus.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh, you mentioned it Sunday about Kansas, how you don't trust them. I'm sorry, I don't trust Tennessee when it comes to March. Defensively, they're great. Offensively, like Phil mentioned about 3-4 weeks ago, about a month ago, offensively, they're just not it. They're not consistent. They don't hit shots consistently. And if it comes down to March, I'm sorry, I might, depending on what their matchup is, I could see them losing the first weekend.
I absolutely could. I mean, I could. A team that's got offensive firepower is going to give them issues.
Yeah. Team hits shots and he just helps out defensively. I think they're going to give a lot of teams, especially Tennessee, issues in March. Corey, you got any thoughts on Tennessee losing?
No, you guys pretty much covered it. Stackhouse, tremendous job drawing something up, and Vandy, great job executing. I mean, they hung around the entire game, and you give a bad team confidence, and they're going to make you pay, and that's exactly what happened here.
Let's move on to some previews here. We got some 4 big games Saturday night on Saturday. Start off with probably the biggest game of the day, our game of the day in our weekly pick games. Got number 12 ranked Baylor going at number 20 ranked TCU. I'll keep it like this. TCU is struggling right now. If Mike Miles is not back, then they're just going to continue to struggle. They got bitched around by Kansas State. We didn't talk about that one, but they got bitched around by them. I think Baylor's going to do the same thing. Baylor wins this game. Too much guard play for them. Baylor wins, I think, 78-69.
I'll stick with you. TCU's kind of falling off the map right now. Mike Miles being injured, and they're out of the conference as far as winning the conference title race goes. Baylor still has a chance. They've got to win this to keep pace. And Baylor's, their backcourt's too good, and with Jonathan Chomwe-Chachua coming back, that gives them added depth. Baylor in a runaway in this one. I go a 15-point spread.
I think Baylor's hitting their stride right now. I think they're a team to watch for the national title conversation. They sort of fell out of there middle of the season, but I really like them, and I think they win this one big. As Peyton mentioned, I don't think Mike Miles will be back. I don't think TCU has enough firepower to keep up, and Baylor 80-60.
I think TCU continues their loss streak of kind of falling apart down the end, or down towards this last end. They're eliminated from the Big 12, and I think they're eliminated from winning this game. I think Baylor has way too much guard play. I think they take the win. I think it's going to be about an 18-point win.
So sweet for us. Moving on, we got an SEC battle. We got number 3 ranked Alabama going into at Auburn. Anyone want to start this off first?
Yeah, I'll take this because Alabama just throttled Florida in the first half. Put up 52 or 53 points. Brandon Miller hit a step back. He'd already hit a couple shots in a row. Step back, like just pull-up jumper on Colin Castleton, nothing but the bottom. Alabama's the best team in the country overall right now, and I will stand by that. I've said it for a couple weeks. I believe that despite the Oklahoma loss.
Purdue fans.
Don't care. They can get over it because Alabama, the way they score the basketball, and they've got 2 rim protectors down low, and Bediako and I just lost the other kid. Clowney, thank you. And they've got a top-tier GOAT bucket getter and Brandon Miller. Alabama can win the national title. They're the best offensive team in college basketball. Despite what analytics say, they can put numbers on you in a hurry and they get out in transition. Alabama wins this and wins this convincingly because what are Auburn's small guards going to do against Alabama's NBA size? Alabama wins this in a high-scoring game because both teams will score. Alabama wins this 95-81.
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I think Alabama puts a ton of points on the board. We've talked about Brandon Miller being the best freshman in the country. I think it's at this point, in the conversation of whether he's the best player in the country. And I think he shows out in this game, has a big performance, and Alabama 95-78.
I'm going to make it really simple and really quick. Alabama shoots the lights out. Alabama scores the basketball, and Auburn just doesn't have enough firepower to keep up with it. I think Alabama is another tremendous game. 85 plus. I'm going to take an 88-74 victory.
I don't know how many points Auburn's going to score, but it doesn't matter. Alabama's going to put up some numbers. Matter of fact, they're going to score over 100 points for, I think, the 5th time this season. Alabama beats the shit out of Auburn. Whatever the scoreline is, 103 to, I don't know, like 70 or something. Alabama wins. Best offense in the country, like Josh mentioned. Moving on, Big East clash. We got number 24 ranked Connecticut going at number 23 ranked Creighton. Coy, I'm going to start with you. Who wins this game?
I think Creighton's just continuing to get better. They were an 8-loss team, and they're just continuing to roll. UConn, we kind of mentioned it's in a bad spot. They came out and got a huge win over Marquette the other night. But I still don't have complete faith in them. I think Creighton wins this one at home. I think they're going to pull away a little bit late with some foul shots and things. But I think overall they take the win by around 9 points, 70, 74, 66.
I'll put it this way: Creighton's won 7 in a row, and they are starting to get red hot. Ever since Kalkbrenner came back, they have been a completely different team. Baylor Shireman last night in the win against Seton Hall, 19 points. If he starts scoring the basketball like we know he can, it makes them even more dangerous. Creighton is playing as well as anybody, and looks like the team we thought they were preseason and what we've seen out in Maui. Creighton wins this game despite UConn getting a big win, like Corey mentioned against Marquette the other night. Creighton wins this game fairly convincingly at home. I've got them by like 10 points.
Yeah, I think Creighton overwhelms them, especially in the front court. Kalkbrenner being back. I really like this Creighton team, and they're starting to get the right pieces at the right time. Creighton wins this game 82-69.
Have real quick too, Phil. Creighton's only a game out of the conference lead now.
They are. They're right back in the conference race. But I'm going to go against you guys here. I think UConn, has the physicality up front that even with Kalkbrenner back is going to give Creighton problems. And I like UConn to take it 75-72. Tight, tough game.
I like it.
Going to the ACC, we got Duke going at number 9 Virginia. Duke really needs to win this game to really get momentum back, but going at Virginia is going to be tough. Defensively, I think Virginia is going to do what they need to do to win this game. Virginia wins this game at a low scoring, I think about 69-63. Virginia wins.
Phil?
Yeah, I think Duke's eventually going to figure it out on the road. I just don't think it's going to be in Charlottesville against a top 10 team with, a banged up Dariq Whitehead back, if he even does play at all. I like Virginia 65-59, ugly game.
Yeah, I'm with you about the same scoreline. Duke's not playing well on the road. This is not a good place to get right at. I don't even think they cracked 60. So I'm going Virginia in a very low scoring game, 62-49. I said 60. I don't even know if they'll crack 50. 62-49 Virginia.
I was say there's one huge thing that you guys said. It's not at Cameron Indoor, which just truly just speaks volumes of, Duke doesn't play well on the road. I think Virginia absolutely runs away with this one. I don't think Duke has any kind of firepower on the road. I think, I'm right there with you, Josh. I'll give them 53 though.
Wow, how generous of you to give Duke 53 points. Moving on, though. Let's go ahead and do this, since Corey insists that we talk about these Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana goes at Michigan Saturday night. TJD versus Hunter Dickinson. Corey, who wins, and why does IU win by how many points are you going to say?
Indiana's starting to figure it out. Indiana's starting to get better at home and on the road. They're finally, 3-6 right now. Which still isn't great, but, moving into second place, I think, TJD's added a whole new element to the game of kind of stepping out, catching the ball on the wing and attacking. I just don't think Michigan has enough to compete across the board. I will go with Indiana taking the win, 76-71.
I think TJD wins the matchup against Hunter Dickinson. I think Indiana wins the matchup overall. Indiana goes out in Michigan and wins this game, I think 81-70.
I'll keep the Indiana train short and sweet. I love the way they're playing. They obviously have to take care of the basketball on the road here because Michigan's playing for their tournament life. But Michigan's super inconsistent. If they can get Jet Howard and Kobe Buffkin to play well to help out Dickinson, then they definitely can win this game. But I like Indiana. I like the confidence they're playing with.
you mentioned Jet Howard. I think he goes off for a big game in this one, but I think Indiana overcomes it because I just think TJD is going to have his way with Hunter Dickinson, who's an absolute cockface. Yeah, Indiana big, and never mind. I was going to say something, but never mind.
Yeah, I'd shut up if I was you. We all sweep it with Indiana. That's the end of the previews. Now let's end it with talking about we got to do a Big 12 draft. First conference draft of the season. Talking about the Big 12 conference, the best conference in college basketball, and how this is going to go. The order: Corey's going to go first, Phil second, Josh third. I'm going to go last since I went first on our Duke draft that we did about last season. And it's going to be snake style. So Corey, your number one pick is...
I'm going to change it up on you. I'm going Marquise Knoll out of Kansas State.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Phil?
Well, I'm glad that when he switched it up, he didn't take my guy because I'm probably switching it up from where everybody else would go here too. I'm going to take Keontae George from Butler.
Okay. Josh?
Or Baylor, excuse me.
The consensus says I should take Jalen Wilson, but I'm not going to because I'm going to take my guy, Keontae Johnson. I love the story. He's playing well. I'll take Keontae Johnson in my backcourt.
Okay, I did not. Me and Corey talked about this before the show. I did not expect Jalen Wilson to be available. What the hell are y'all doing? Jalen Wilson, the best player in the Big 12 Conference. Come home to me. Jalen Wilson, my number one pick, and I get to go again. So let's go ahead and get the best point guard in the country, best point guard in the league. Let's go ahead and get another player of Jayhawks. DeJuan Harris as my point guard.
Well, I'll see your DeJuan Harris, and I'll take Marcus Carr, baby. Give me a Marcus Carr and Keontae Johnson backcourt. Phil?
Phil, you're up.
I think I'm going to go with Kevin O'Banner here. There's not a ton of size in the Big 12. I like the versatility O'Banner brings. Can shoot from the outside a little bit too. So I go Kevin O'Banner here.
All right. I'm going to go a little bit off the charts, go into Oklahoma and go Grant Sherfield.
Oh, that's a good pick. I like that.
You got another pick here.
I wasn't ready for that. Come on, man.
Come on, you got to be ready now.
Yeah, I know. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to go stay in Oklahoma and go to Oklahoma State and go with Sissy.
Musa Cisse?
Yeah, Susie. I can't even talk right now.
Sissy! You big sissy.
Phil?
I can't even talk right now.
I'll add another member of the Baylor backcourt, and I'll take Adam Flagler.
I've already made my mind up that I'm going to have a small team that's going to press the shit out of you and try to outscore you. I mean, I'll have a good defensive, but so with that being said, I got to go to press Virginia, baby, for a wing player. Give me Emmett Matthews, 6'7" on the wing that can defend and score. A two-way player? Oh, my God, you pair him up with Marcus Carr and Keontae Johnson. Hell yeah, son. Emmett Matthews.
All right, I'm going to need more of a scoring guard to team up with DeJuan Harris. So let me get, man, Phil, you're an asshole. I was really hoping to get Flagler. But let me go Damian Ball from TCU.
Nice. And then back to you, Peyton. Pick 4.
Pick 4. Oh, shit. I need a center. Let me get a guy who could stretch it out, hit some shots. Let me go Tanner Gross from Oklahoma.
You tuck him. Damn it. That's who was going to be next.
Suck it.
Damn you. That's who I was taking. Again, I'm just going to play small and athletic. With that being said, he can play a 3 or 4, him and Emmett Matthews. They might have to play 5 in this lineup, but I'm going to go Timmy Allen at 6'6", a shot-making guy, good defender. You know what? Like I said, I'm going to press shit out of everybody. So Timmy Allen.
Kind of surprised he's here, unless I just spaced out for a second and somebody actually picked him, but I think he slots into the 3 nicely for me. Grady Dick.
Oh, there you go.
Shit, yeah. He's available.
I was sitting here as I was about to pick him, and I'm like, did somebody not pick it? Like, I don't know.
No, that was going to be my next pick, but damn it. You're a dickhead for that, by the way. Who is it, Coy? You get 2 picks here.
Me.
Oh, no, you get 1, actually.
No, he gets 2. It'll be his his last 2 here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Joe.
4 and 5, yeah.
Man, go ahead. I'm gonna take another little bit of size and go Caleb Boone.
Okay. And then who rounds your team out here?
I believe he's still available. Eric Stevenson.
Oh, from West Virginia. I like it.
Yeah, another Mountaineer off the board.
Phil?
Last thing I need for my team is a big man down low. And again, a little surprised he's here, unless I'm just, tripping. But Osun Asuni, if that's how you even say his name, from Iowa State, can protect the rim a little bit, can rebound, good length, versatility. Versatility is the thing I'm big on, and I think we got a lot of it in this lineup.
So I said, I like that pick, by the way. I said that I'll go small, and technically I still am because he is very undersized for post position, but it came down between 3 guys. I could go real small and just spread you out in modern basketball because I was thinking between a guy like Gabe Kalsher or Caleb Grill from Iowa State. But I'm going to give a little interior play who can protect the rim, super athletic, that goes with my pressing style. KJ Adams is my last guy.
Nice. I like that pick a lot. I need a small forward here. I need a guy who can play in the wing, who can hit some shots. Jalen Wilson, he's been lights out here from 3, but I really want to turn him into a driver and not have to have him rely so much on hitting shots for us. So let me go to Iowa State. Let me go with Jalen Holmes from Iowa State. The dude's shooting about 38% from 3. Lights out. He's killing it this year for Iowa State. Big player for them. So Jalen Holmes to round out my team.
I like it. Good teams, man. My team, I would love this team in real life. I'd be so undersized, but I mean, you talking about Marcus Carr, Keontae Johnson, Emmett Matthews, Timmy Allen, and KJ Adams. Boy, we might not get a lot of rebounding, but we're going to press the shit out of you, defend, and score.
If you had to add a 6th man, who would it be?
Oh.
Corey, you want to go first on that? Just keep in the same order.
Yeah, let me open this back up. I just closed it all out. I made my picks and I was ready to run. I was ready to take that championship home. I mean, come on now. You know what? Let's go in reverse because I was actually supposed to go last.
Real quick, because we got to wrap this up.
You know what? Let me get the best shot fake in college basketball, Jabari Rice.
I'll take another guard just because I like him. I'll go Tyrese Hunter.
Oh.
I'm going to take a guard as well also, and I think maybe nobody took him because he's injured, but I'll take Mike Miles.
Oh my God.
How did we forget Mike Miles? Oh my God.
I thought you took him. Holy shit.
What a 6-man that is.
Yeah, it's 6 man that's on the IR. Like, come on now.
Come on, Corey, make a pick.
I can't even. I don't even know.
Just say Gabe Kalsher and take
Kevin McCullough. I'll give you him.
All right, deal.
All right, perfect.
All right, well, I'm just saying if we ever did a coach, I'm picking Bill Self, and that's the end-all be-all, so kiss my ass on that.
Well, I'll coach you with Bob Hogan, so it's all right.
Nah, we're playing only in out. We're gonna pull a Kentucky and only playing out in Fieldhouse. All right, so let's.
Well, I'm gonna hire former Big 12 coach Larry Eustace, and he's gonna fuck all your coaches.
Hold on. If we're gonna talk about former Big 12 coaches, Josh is gonna hire Bruce Weber. All right, so let's. That's the end of the show. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Phil, it's nice to have you back. Hopefully you'll be with us for Sunday's show and the rest of the shows that we do for the rest of the year. Glad to have you a cocksucking ass back. Coy, kiss my ass. I always said the F-bomb once this episode, so suck it. I'm getting better.
I'm pretty sure
Josh,
there was a like 1.5 because I think it was partially out. And he kind of held up. So
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining the show. Make sure you give the podcast a 5-star review. Check out, we forgot to mention earlier, if you're in downtown Edinburgh, Indiana, go check out Beauty to Beast Nutrition. If you guys need a boost for the day, go get one of those protein coffees or a boosted tea or even one of those protein cookies. Go check out Natasha. She's great at what she does, and go check them out. Obviously, everybody at House Enterprise, House of College Hoops, check them out as well. And we'll catch you guys Sunday. Thanks you so much for joining in. My name is Peyton. That's Josh, Phil, Coy. we'll catch y'all Sunday or Monday, depending on what we got to do. Because me and Josh will be at Ohio State for the Ohio State-Michigan State game. And I'm going to kick Tom Izzo right in the balls because I'm tired of playing him every damn year. Thank you guys so much for joining in, and we'll catch you next time. Peace, y'all.